I want to go through that article that I wrote. Actually, I wrote it about midnight. Midnight. Actually, I wrote it about 1 o'clock, just before. It was the last article I wrote before going to bed, because I am completely concerned that enough people don't really see the dire straits that we're currently in. And I'm not telling people to be fearful. I'm not telling people to be panicked. I'm telling people to engage. I'm telling people to act. And if you take a look at the article I wrote earlier this morning was, America, this is a 5-alarm fire, and we are at DEFCON 5. It is not business as usual. We are in a place we have never been before. At one time, I equated the political fraud we are living through today as just another dose of McCarthyism that, while harmful, would pass one we could easily recover from. But I'm wrong about that. This isn't the past McCarthyism. This is a lot more dangerous. It is not. Unfortunately, the Supreme Court, the Republican Congress, neoliberal Democrats, and the mainstream media have yet to understand the danger. Now, all of these people, let me give you the article. I'll put the article in the chat. It's on Substack as well. Many of these people, what's occurring with Donald Trump right now will affect them dearly. As I'm saying now, every one of these different branches of government is in danger from an authoritarian executive, and it is almost like they cannot see it. The Supreme Court and the Republican Congress, for the most part, acquiesce to the corrupt Trump and his administration. And the neoliberal Democrats just blow hot air or follow the let Trump self-destruct advice from an age consultant. What is his name? James Carville. Do nothing. They'll self-destruct. No, they won't. Look at how Tapper handled the speaker with kid gloves. Okay, so no, James Carville have never won the majority of the popular vote. He has never run a majority. Every time Clinton won, he won with under 50%. But that is who many of these neoliberal Democrats decide they are going to follow. If you want to know somebody who has the pulse of the people, look at the Democrat they make the most caricatured, and that is Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. You may smile, you may laugh, you may think she's too young, all of that, but she has the pulse of the working class. If that's why they have to ridicule her the way they do. But continuing, we are at DEFCON 5. In nuclear terms and in terms of fire, we are at a 5-alarm fire. A dangerous fire can simmer for a long time until a catalyst comes to fruition. So you have a home and all the windows are closed, all the doors are closed, and there's a simmering fire. The extra carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, and compression within that room keeps it subdued. It's just kind of simmering. As soon as that fireman comes in, or fire person comes in, opens that door, an influx of oxygen comes in, ignites all those flammables, and explodes. That is what that bill is. That represents that one big, beautiful bill. It is that simmering fire, just waiting to explode. Waiting to explode is when it is passed by both the Senate and the House. You have to determine if you're going to keep that door shut, which is what we are aiming to do. Keep that door shut so that thing can explode. And why do I just say keep that door shut instead of trying to extinguish the fire? Because a Republican Congress, a Republican Supreme Court, and a Republican president, that's all those of us with sense have the power to do. Prevent the explosion. We're still going to get the bad policies from these guys continuously. We will continue to get these bad policies. So all we have to do is work hard to prevent this bill from doing what's called a backdraft. The Republican one beautiful bill is that simmering thing, and we got to hold it. But here's the deal. Let me point out the dangers of the bill, and this is what I wrote about it. That's all important, folks. Trump's average tariffs are higher than under the Depression-era Smoot-Hawley Act. That's the act that made the Depression even worse. Every American pays that tariff to the U.S. Treasury, which ultimately ends up in the pockets of mostly wealthy Americans. This means the working class has less money and buys fewer products. Given the broad base of the tariffs, this guarantees stagflation with a minimum inflation and recession. This has worldwide implications. First, every country's economy will suffer in the short run. They will reduce their dependence and allegiance to the United States as they recover. That will further erode the employment and buying power of the working class. Second, the big, beautiful bill is written in a deceptively evil manner. And I want you guys to listen to these 5 points of this big, beautiful bill. It is looking at it from 30,000 feet. You have to see it from 30,000 feet. Then you have to see what it's really all about. The insidious, evil manner in which it is done, the way it cuts Medicare, Medicaid, SNAP, and all these things. The insidious, evil manner in which it's done shows the conniving extremes Republican would go to fool their MAGA base into supporting it. For example, as opposed to cutting Pell Grants, they make it virtually inaccessible by requiring that a student take 15 hours instead of 12 hours, almost guaranteeing that working students and part-timers need not apply. So you're a part-time student, or you can work full-time or part-time with 12 hours. Forget it. You can't get the Pell Grant because they limit the amount of they say, well, if you can't go 15 hours, forget it. You can't get the Pell Grant. So that's a way they cut the Pell Grants without telling you it's a cut. They just make it inaccessible. Number two, most people at the low end do not benefit from the tax on tips. They advertise it. Tax and tips, and no tax on overtime. And everybody say, yay, yay, yay. But guess who are the people who can take care of that? The ones who can actually take advantage of that are the higher earning working class, the higher earning middle class, the people that will do fine whether the tax cuts come or not. They will be fine. And those are the ones who can take over or take advantage on no tax on tips or no tax on overtime. You know why? The poor people still are left behind. The poor working class is still left behind because their standard deduction that they were able to take last year, the year before, and always continue to stay the same. And here's the worst. When we look at the top 10% and the bottom 10%, the bottom 10% are not getting a tax cut. They're actually getting a tax increase. They don't tell you that because they bungle it up with the bottom 20%, right? So the bottom 20% got to get a little equally. The lies, the big tapper, all of this that I'm talking about in my little piece here. The time for America to know how this bill would affect them should have come from this independent progressive media person. This should be coming from Jake Tapper. These are the guys that have a full staff to investigate all this stuff. They have a staff that could come out and inform Americans about what the bill actually does. Jake Tapper had him on for 15 minutes. Jake Tapper could not get not one of these questions, important questions, material questions that will affect all of the working class. He didn't get not one of those questions out. Not one. 3, work requirements sound good to receive Medicaid until one realizes that one cannot afford a babysitter or outside care for a loved one, or if you can't get 80 hours in a month, which some people, again, they may live in rural America, not a lot of jobs. So somebody may have a little shop that they want some work in, another little store, a little mechanic shop, and they may ask you to come and work for a few hours that doesn't add up to 80 hours in a month. But you're working, you're doing something productive, but you're not working 80 hours. Cut your Medicaid. These are cuts that they don't have to say it cuts. They just say able-bodied workers. Well, you have to be able to do these things. The reason the bills are not generally written that way is to prevent that guy in Timbuktu, Missouri, who is working. He wants to take care of his family. But this month, he fell below 80 hours. He loses his Medicaid. And then another month he works 80 hours, he gets a chance to reapply again, wait through all the paperwork to get health care again. Evil. All of this will make people die. But the Democrats, liberal Democrats, they're not speaking that way. They're not saying if this bill passes, a lot of people would have been murdered by those who passed this bill. You have to speak in graphic manner. Democrats have to go into rural America, go in front of that hospital and say, if this bill passes, this hospital closes. Where are Democrats doing that? Why aren't every Democrat that has a website, why aren't they saying, put in a video up? Everybody wants videos. They're doing TikToks. They're doing Instagram, all these things. All of what you're seeing here, I also place on Instagram, TikTok, and all over to spread the message. But we need a lot of people doing this, right? We need everybody doing this, right? So we have Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who is an expert in getting her message out. Guess what's special about Alexandria? The people who voted for her? Guess who also voted for her? There are people who voted for her that were MAGA. They voted for her and Trump at the same time. How does that compute? How does that? And you know what she did? She didn't say, I didn't want those votes. She went and interrogated those people who voted for her and then voted for Trump. She knows how to speak to the working class. The other item, most of the green policies Biden passed went to where again? Red states. I repeat, most of the green energy and green job policies went to whom? It went to red states. I could see that as a strategic move by Biden, right? Biden probably said, well, if I make sure that a lot of red states get all these jobs, what does that really mean? That likely means that it stands a better chance of not being cut. When I speak about the evil, about the big, beautiful bill, that's what I'm talking about. These guys don't give a damn about MAGA. These guys don't give a damn about the working class. They don't care about any of that. They want those tax cut benefits at all cost. They want it at all costs. It does not matter who it harms. And that is the message that we have to get to those people. Neoliberal Democrats are the Democrats that are funded almost exclusively by the corporatocracy. These are the guys that prevent policies that really supports working class people. These are guys like, what's her name? Sinema, who prevented healthcare and daycare for your kids. These are people like Joe Manchin, who prevented people from getting. Let's be clear here. Joe Manchin, a neoliberal Democrat, he is from West Virginia. And Joe Manchin said the following: he does not want to give the working class tax breaks, give the working class health care, give the working class support for children care, etc., because he said they will drink it off. This is Joe Manchin, a Democrat out of West Virginia, either the first or second poorest state in this nation. And he is the one who helped, along with Sinema, build back better, which had a whole lot of progressive things that we wanted. Biden, a president that I wasn't initially for. Anybody who knows me know that I was a Bernie Sanders delegate. But better than any past Democratic president since Johnson or Roosevelt, he listened to the Progressive Caucus, and he was in fact passing Democratic, or rather Progressive Caucus policies. Not as deep as we would like to, but better than even Obama. And that's what we're talking about here, folks. That's what we're talking about. So we have to get our act together. Last one. Medicaid cuts will ultimately cause many rural hospitals to close, as many patients cannot pay without it. And this is where, Catherine, I speak about Democrats should be out in every rural area right now. We need to get out of Washington. We need to get out of these places where people are already going to vote for us because they know we're on the good side. We need to go. It doesn't matter if people are going to scream at us. It doesn't matter if people are going to say, get out of here. I live in one of the reddest areas in this county. Okay. And it turns out that I go out there and I speak, I convince, I talk to my MAGA brothers and sisters. I talk, inject, I do all of this. And yes, you don't change most of them, but you change enough of them to put the fear of passing a bill like this in them. But if we really wanted to get things done, again, what Ocasio-Cortez and Bernie Sanders were doing, going around red areas and getting big crowds, let me tell you, more than 10% of those crowds that Bernie and Ocasio-Cortez got, those were what again? Republicans. They were Republicans. So it is so important. So Bernie is your guy. Great. I think there are a lot of Dems out and about. Yeah, take a look at what Bernie and Ocasio-Cortez have been doing and getting people out there en masse. And yes, your Catherine, Rachel Maddow does a great job of showing all those different protests that are going around. And by the way, I'm with the Indivisible Kingwood here, where we do a whole lot of that, etc. So yes, you're absolutely right. A lot of people are out there, but we need more to go out there. Not only, again, like I said, when I talk about the neoliberal Democrats not doing their job, my dear, what should be done right now is going into all these areas that Republicans dominate, as Ocasio-Cortez and Bernie did, and stand in front of that hospital. We know what hospitals are closing. I presented an article a couple of weeks ago with the CEO of a hospital in rural Colorado that votes Republican, where he came on national TV and said, if this bill passes, my hospital closes. Now think about a delegation of Democrats going in front of that hospital and having and mounting a press conference and saying, if this bill passed, this is how much this hospital will get cut because of the amount of people who will get cut here, and this hospital will close. And you do that with hospitals. You go to daycare centers. You go in front of that daycare center. You don't need permission. You can get on the public sidewalk, and you say, the X amount percentage of these people who are going to this particular daycare center are on assistance. If this bill passes, they will no longer be. You have to do the work. You have to go out there and earn people's vote. One of the reasons we didn't earn people's vote is we thought we could just throw a whole bunch of stuff on TV. We spent $2 billion, or $2 billion to lose an election. Donald Trump spent $1 billion to win an election. And you know what was the difference? In how it was spent. They invested in their bloggers. They invested in their independent media. They invested in their lying media. They invested in the grassroots. They invested in all these things that touched the people the closest. They did it. They went out there. They blew up, even though they're lying and they're evil. They threw up a trans person, and they made that the definition of what democratic policy is. We support trans. We support everybody. But they made it seems like at your expense, they're supporting all these whatevers. We have to get smart, and we have to do the job. But the problem is when too many of you are on the take, or I should say too many of us are on the take, right? We can't go out and say, this corporation has been pilfering us, because you're getting a few dollars from these corporations. So when you're like Ocasio-Cortez, that she's the highest grossing fundraiser in the aggregate, and she doesn't do it with corporate dollars. I am saying, if we work with the people that are supporting us, we don't have to have those corporate dollars. If you are supporting your independent media, if you're supporting all these different groups, we don't need to have the corporate media that's running this stuff. Look, it's in our hands, and we have to engage. I could go on and on, but you get the picture. Many will see some poetic justice in that this bill will be a disaster for MAGA's socioeconomic well-being. The problem is that their suffering will be a metastasizing cancer that spreads to all. So we don't get to suffer. MAGA doesn't get to suffer from what Trump's going to do to them in a vacuum. That spreads to all of us. And that is something that needs to be mitigated. The Supreme Court has given Trump a permission slip to act illegally. The Republican Congress allows itself to be puppeteered by the president with little pushback, and neoliberal Democrats have made themselves irrelevant. How do you make yourself relevant? Go to those hospitals that are going to be closing and have press conference and bring people over. You're going to have a lot of MAGA come out and scream at you. That will make the press conference get even more visibility. We have to use our heads. We have to be out there. We just don't need to be out in front. Yes, we have to be out in front of that senator's office as well. We must visit our senators and congresspersons' office virtually, through phone calls, emails, with our persons, with our bodies, written letters, fax, in person, and more. And more. Let them know you are not fooled by the window dressing portion of their bill. Let them know you understand the evil within it and how it will be disastrous to the working place. In other words, we don't want to just go out there and scream. We don't want just go out there and say the bill is not good. We want to be able to tell them why the bill is not good. I enumerated 5 major things in this article, but there are scores more that are bad. But these are some major ones that I enumerated in this article. Most of the articles I'm writing and distributing through Substack, Medium, Daily Kos, and other networks expresses the urgency. Most video shorts on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Telegram, Twitch, and other platforms are flooded. I'm flooding the zone with and trying to express this reality. My 2 politics shows, Politics Done Right daily in the mornings at 6 a.m. Central and at 3 p.m. Central, are deconstructing our current path to demise. Absent an intentional change by all of us, absent all of us engaging, making these people know that we are not just going to take it. That is what prevents this bill from passing. But you have to engage. You have to go out there. We're not scared. We're not frightened. We're not paralyzed by fear. We have to make our presence known. Those of you in a wheelchair sitting back or whatever, tell your story. In fact, I have a call and I'm going to ask this now, and anybody else who pass this on to your friends and people. One of the best ways, and Michael Lewis points this out, this is the author of many docuseries, books, the works. A story is much better than me giving you a whole lot of stats online. If I can tell you a story about how something affects my humanity, how something affects me, it is much more powerful than me just throwing out numbers and facts and all that kind of stuff. If I can show you how it affects me. So what I've been doing and trying to do is get people's own stories. Tell it to me in 5 minutes. Tell it to me in 2 minutes. Tell it to me in 3 minutes. What I want to do going forward is, if you know somebody with a story to tell, somebody that wants something that they know they're going to lose with this budget, or they know they're losing for some kind of care that should be there that isn't there, give them our info@politicsdoneright.com. Let them email us and let us do either a video interview with them, an audio interview, or just tell us their story so that we can further promote this story and let people know that many are suffering in silence. Most people in America suffer in silence. So we don't get a chance to understand much of what's happening, how people are affected. A lot of people are sitting down there thinking, I am the only one that's going through this. I'm ashamed for what I'm going through, which isn't the case. There's nothing to be ashamed of in this country that the people that are ripping you off are corporations. The people that should be ashamed are the billionaires who are making all their income off of your backs. Don't let anybody fool you. If you're working, if you're out there doing something, those billionaires are making a profit on your back. Nothing to be ashamed of. But we suffer in silence. And because we suffer in silence, these evil animals calling themselves politicians get a chance to push through these things that affect even more evil pain on you. We have to get over that. We have to get over that. So I'm asking you right now, folks, first of all, I hope a lot of what I am speaking about here, Margaret Ryan says, I joined rural outreach in the visible group going to red districts to help them discover why this bill will hurt their small city. Thank you, Margaret Ryan, for what you're doing there. Very important. Very important. Catherine says, stop the Senate approval of the NASTA bill. Please invite everyone to join the fight. That's the reason I'm here on a Sunday, a holiday weekend, and doing this. That's why I'm writing. That's why I'm doing this, Catherine, because right now we can do something about it. Right now, we can do something about it. After the bill is passed, it would have harmed your brother, your sister, your neighbor, your auntie, your daughter, and a lot of it will be irreversible. You can't reverse death. You can't reverse the financial catastrophe that will affect many. Let's just give a good example here. This is a good example here. Many people thought they were going to retire, and this is so sad. Many people thought they were going to retire with their 401ks, good numbers. And in one day, Donald Trump knew what he was doing. He talks about throwing tariffs on everything, and their portfolio crashed. Their portfolio crashed. And it wasn't, you can't say, well, they should have balanced their portfolio from bonds to stocks, etc. Because what Trump did caused not only stocks to crash, he also caused bonds to crash. So you have your portfolio here. You're ready to retire in a year or so, and it dumps. Good people, a lot of people who voted for him, and it crashed. Your retirement crashed. Policies matter. The people we elect matter. The media that we have matter. All of this matters. And we have to be the ones, I remember when Obama was running, he used to say, we are who we've been waiting for. And I took that to heart. I took that to heart. Actually, I took that to heart during the run. I started doing all this. I gave up my business for independent media. Don't know if kind of crazy to do, but for independent media, because that thing about who we've been waiting for. I knew all this. I'm an engineer. I knew all this technology stuff. I didn't need to hire anybody to do any of this kind of stuff. I could do it all on my own. I could connect the wires. I could figure things out, etc. I said, we've been who we've been waiting for. When I'm complaining about why is it this way? Why is it that way? And somebody should do something about it. I said, why not you? Right? And I am. And we are. And we should. And we should. And we should. And all of us can. Well, not all of us can. Those who have the wherewithal, if you're in a wheelchair, if you're ill or whatever, just do whatever you can. If you have a story to tell, don't forget, drop me a line at info@politicsdoneright.com. I'll tell your story. We'll get you on with your cell phone and have a little chat, that whole thing. Put it out there. Let's stop suffering in silence. Let's start working together. I'm going to be getting out of here shortly. Got to go write a few more blogs to put out there. Like I said, I got to get a few more blogs to put out there. Natalie Lago says, aren't Republicans in Congress dead set on passing this terrible bill? Not disappoint Donald Trump because they fear retaliation. Yeah, they are. But more than retaliation from Donald Trump, they fear retaliation from you. That's why Senator Johnson is so out talking about this bill right now as being a budget buster and all of that. Let's see how far he gets with that. But he'll get far if he thinks he has your support. That's how he'll get far. If he believes that he can get your support, that you're not gonna really get his butt, then we'll get the 3 senators that we need in the Senate to prevent the passage of this bill. We still have the time to do it, but you have got to engage. You can't sit back, like James Carville said, and just wait for things to happen. You have to be actively engaged. And while our media is doing a poor job, that's why myself and other independent progressive media folks are trying to do this.
We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead. Number 1, subscribe to our channel. And number 2, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.